In the year 2157, humanity had finally emerged from the dark shadows of its past. The devastating wars that nearly tore the planet apart had left deep scars, but time had allowed healing. Earth was recovering, its technology more advanced than ever, and the people had started rebuilding their fractured societies. Yet, despite the progress, a deep skepticism lingered. Most humans dismissed the possibility of intelligent life beyond Earth, wrapped in a veil of fear and disbelief. But Dr. Alara Vasquez was different. Alara was a woman consumed by a single obsession, the idea that humanity was not alone in the universe. As an astrobiologist, she had spent years researching interspecies communication and the nature of alien intelligence. Her radical theories had earned her both admiration and ridicule. While most scientists were focused on the observable universe, Alara focused on what lay beyond, in the hidden spaces where life might exist in forms unimaginable. She had a deep conviction that somewhere out there, an alien civilization was waiting, and they had something important to share with humanity. Her quest began when a strange transmission from the Vega system reached Earth. The signal wasn't an anomaly, nor was it just random static. It was a message, an intelligently designed communication. The message was cryptic but unmistakable in its purpose. It wasn't just a greeting, it was a warning, a call for help, perhaps even an invitation. Alara's heart raced when she decoded the first few lines, which hinted at something terrifying, a cosmic threat approaching the galaxy. This wasn't a simple scientific discovery, it was a potential turning point for humanity. Determined to understand the meaning of this message, Alara became obsessed with finding out who had sent it and what they wanted. She believed that this could be the moment that changed everything, that humanity could become part of something far larger than itself. The message seemed to imply that a greater danger was on the horizon, one that could destroy all life. Alara saw this as her chance not only to prove her theories, but also to prevent a catastrophe. She knew that humanity had to be involved in this unfolding story. This wasn't just about exploration, it was about survival. But before she could fully decode the message, Earth's first contact with alien life took a hostile turn. An enormous alien fleet appeared at the edge of the solar system, their ships unlike anything humans had ever seen, sleek, towering, and seemingly invulnerable. The fleet was led by an unknown species called the Sota, who issued an ultimatum: humanity must surrender or face annihilation. The message was blunt and chilling: submit to us, or your species will be eradicated. The entire planet was thrown into chaos. World governments scrambled to respond, with most opting for a militaristic stance. Armies mobilized, and weapons systems were activated in a panic. But Alara, still deeply moved by the message she had intercepted, saw an opportunity that others didn't. She had spent her life studying alien communication and intelligence, and she believed there was still a chance to understand the Sota, to reach out in peace. To her, this was not an invasion, it was a misunderstanding, a miscommunication waiting to be resolved. Alara proposed a solution that went against everything the military and world leaders were advocating. Instead of preparing for war, humanity should respond with diplomacy, offering a single ship, not an army, to represent Earth. She knew the stakes were high, but she believed that the only way to truly understand the Sota was to offer them something they hadn't seen before: humanity's potential for peaceful cooperation. It wasn't about surrendering. It was about showing the Sota that humanity wasn't just a species to be feared or destroyed. The plan was daring. A single ship, the Elysium, would be sent to meet the Sota fleet. It would carry a hand-picked crew of experts, scientists, and diplomats, people who could represent the best of humanity's intellect and goodwill. Alara would lead the mission, as her understanding of alien life was unparalleled. She believed that if they could establish communication, they might be able to not only prevent a war, but also learn from the Sota about the greater cosmic threat they had hinted at. The journey was dangerous, and the odds of success were slim. Many on Earth questioned Alara's plan, deeming it a foolish gamble. Some even saw it as a sign of weakness. But Alara was unwavering. She knew that humanity's future wasn't just about defense, it was about understanding the greater universe and its inhabitants. This was the moment to prove that humanity had learned from its past mistakes and could embrace something larger than itself. With the ship ready and the crew assembled, the Elysium set its course for the unknown. It was humanity's final hope. As the ship broke free from Earth's atmosphere and soared into the void of space, the crew felt a sense of uncertainty but also a strange exhilaration. They were not just venturing into the unknown, they were doing so with the hopes of an entire planet riding on their shoulders. The Elysium vanished into the stars, leaving Earth behind, its future uncertain. On board, Allura felt a mix of anticipation and dread. This was not just a mission to make contact, it was the beginning of a new chapter in human history. But what would they find when they reached the Sota fleet? Would they meet the hostility of war, or the chance for understanding? The only thing Allura knew for sure was that humanity's survival now depended on one fragile hope, that their first encounter with the Sota could be one of peace. The journey had begun, and everything was about to change. As the Elysium sailed closer to the vast, looming fleet of the Sota, Allura felt a tightening in her chest. She had spent years imagining this moment, the first true encounter between humanity and an alien species. The anticipation had been almost unbearable, and yet, as they approached the ships, there was an eerie stillness in the air. The Sota fleet, immense and impressive, remained silent. No signals, no transmissions, no indication of what the aliens wanted or expected. Allura had prepared herself for a tense first contact. She had imagined diplomatic talks, perhaps even an awkward standoff. What she hadn't expected was indifference. The fleet simply hovered, unmoving, as if they were waiting for something to unfold on their terms, or perhaps, as it soon became apparent, they weren't interested in engaging at all. The Elysium sent out a series of peaceful signals, each one encoded with Allura's carefully crafted message of peace and cooperation. But nothing came back. The crew began to wonder if they were truly alone in the void. Had they been sent to meet an alien species that no longer cared about communication? Or worse, was this some sort of trap? Then something unexpected happened. As the Elysium entered the outer orbit of the Sota fleet, the first signs of alien life became visible not through glowing transmissions, but through a subtle shift in the fleet's formation. A group of ships, smaller and more agile, broke away from the larger warships and approached the human vessel. The crew's hearts pounded. Were they being surrounded? But instead of attack, the ships merely observed. There was no communication, no hostility, just a silent watch. As the crew peered through the viewports, they saw something more shocking than they could have ever imagined. The Sota fleet wasn't united. Instead, it was fractured, divided into distinct factions, each with its own agenda, its own goals, and its own desires. Allura and her crew were caught in the middle of a cosmic political struggle. The Sota, it seemed, were not a single species, but a collective of many different factions, each vying for power and control. Some factions wanted nothing more than humanity's destruction. Others, however, seemed curious, even fascinated by humanity's potential. A third faction, a rare group known as the Alien, appeared to be the ones trying to warn the humans of a greater danger, a cosmic force that threatened both their civilizations. The revelation hit Allura like a cold slap to the face. The mission she had been so certain about was far more complex than she had ever imagined. No longer was she simply representing humanity in an alien encounter. Now, she had to navigate a fractured, dangerous political landscape, where every word, every gesture, could mean life or death. The crew began to see the tension building around them. Some members were afraid of the Sota's hostility, unsure if they would make it out alive. Others, particularly Dr. Jian, a brilliant but impulsive scientist, were growing increasingly frustrated with the slow pace of diplomacy. Zia began to push for more aggressive tactics, even suggesting that they forcefully break through the alien blockade if necessary. Allura, however, held firm. She refused to believe that this encounter had to end in violence. But then, the worst possible thing happened. Dr. Jian, one of the crew's most trusted scientists, betrayed them. Zai had been working with one of the more hostile factions within the Sota fleet, the Karath, a militaristic and ruthless group that believed in the superiority of their species. Exi had been feeding them information, subtly pushing humanity's potential to be used as a pawn in the Sota's galactic wars. His ultimate goal, He had confessed in a hidden transmission to the Karath, was to manipulate the humans into sparking a war that would give him power and position among the alien factions. Elora was devastated. She had trusted Xe, and now she realized the depth of his betrayal. The man who had been her right-hand advisor had been playing a dangerous game all along. Her faith in diplomacy, in the very concept of trust, was shaken. It was as if the ground beneath her had disappeared, leaving only uncertainty and fear. But the betrayal didn't end there. As the crew explored a massive Sota city, trying to gain a better understanding of the fractured society they were dealing with, Elora stumbled upon something even more disturbing. While exploring a hidden underground archive, she uncovered ancient documents, records that had been deliberately hidden from her and the crew. What she found there turned her understanding of the Sota and humanity's place in the universe upside down. The Sota had once faced extinction, not from internal strife, but from a far greater cosmic enemy. The Xanthi, an ancient and terrifying race of parasites, had nearly wiped out the Sota long ago, using mind control to infiltrate and destroy entire civilizations. The Sota had been fighting a desperate, centuries-long battle to survive, and the truth was that their hostility towards humanity wasn't driven by power, it was an act of desperation. The Sota believed that humanity, with its rapidly advancing technology, could either become a powerful ally or a devastating weapon in the battle against the Xantha. But that wasn't all. The Xanthi were still out there, and they were coming for humanity next. Elora's mind raced. What did this mean for humanity's future? How could they fight an enemy that was capable of controlling minds, twisting entire civilizations into weapons? The Sota weren't the enemy they had thought they were. They were survivors, just like humanity, caught in a struggle for their very existence. And now, the Xanthi were turning their eyes toward Earth. The tension on the Elysium reached a breaking point. The crew was divided. Some, like Dr. Xe, wanted to use the Sota's situation to their advantage, manipulating them to ensure humanity's survival at all costs. Others, like Elora, wanted to find a way to forge a true alliance with the more peaceful factions within the Sota, especially the Aelin, who seemed genuinely concerned about the coming threat. Elora was caught in a moral quagmire. She had always believed in the power of peace, of understanding, but now the stakes were higher than ever. Should she side with the Aelin, risking further alienating the more aggressive factions of the Sota, or should she attempt to unite the species under the banner of peace, even though that might lead to more conflict? The choice wasn't clear, and with the Xanthi's arrival imminent, time was running out. The Elysium drifted in the vastness of space, a tiny speck of human hope caught between fractured alien factions and an existential threat that could wipe out all life as they knew it. The future of humanity and the galaxy hung in the balance. The decision to form an alliance between humanity and the Sota had not been made lightly, but Elora felt a sense of purpose that outweighed her fear. She had seen the evidence of the Xanthi's destructive power, the way they had torn apart entire civilizations using mind control, infiltrating every layer of society until nothing was left but submission and destruction. The time for passive diplomacy had passed. Humanity and the Sota. But even as Elora was preparing to present the final proposal for the alliance, an unexpected discovery shook her to her core. It began with a whisper, an offhand remark from one of the Aelin. This quiet revelation led Elora down a dark, twisted path, one that would change her understanding of the Xanthi, the Sota, and, most horrifying of all, humanity itself. The Xanthi, as Elora had known them, were not just a parasitic species hunting down civilizations across the galaxy. They were far older, far more insidious than anyone had realized. What Elora learned next shook her belief in her entire mission. The Xanthi weren't merely invading alien species, they were an ancient intelligence, one that had been lurking behind the scenes of human history for centuries, subtly influencing the development of Earth civilizations. They had seeded themselves into humanity's past, guiding key moments of evolution, wars, and technological breakthroughs, all to manipulate the species into a position of control. The realization struck Elora with the force of a tidal wave. The Xanthi weren't just attacking humanity, now they had been pulling the strings for generations. Every major leap in technology, every devastating war, every shift in political power, had they been guided, nudged by the Xanthes' hidden influence? The pieces fell into place. The peculiar timing of human advancements, the sudden bursts of innovation followed by destructive conflicts. Could it be that the Xanthe had orchestrated humanity's entire evolution? Just as Alara began to process the depth of this discovery, another blow came, one that shattered her world completely. Her father, once a celebrated peacekeeper and a figure of hope during humanity's darkest times, was revealed to have played a pivotal role in the Xanthe's long-term plan. He had been working with the Xanthe, unknowingly or not, as one of their most influential human agents. For years, he had secretly manipulated humanity's progress, ensuring that certain key events such as the global wars and humanity's discovery of advanced technology happened just as the Xanthe needed them to. The betrayal was too deep to comprehend. The man who had raised her, the man who had fought for peace, was a traitor, whether by manipulation or choice. Alora's stomach churned as the truth sank in. Her father wasn't just a victim of the Xanthe's influence, he had actively worked to ensure their control over Earth. He had been a willing accomplice, aiding them in ways she could never have imagined. Her father's actions were worse than anything Alara could have feared. She had always admired his unwavering dedication to peace, his belief that humanity could overcome its violent tendencies. But now, she saw the ugliness of it all. Was humanity's history of destruction simply the result of its own failure, or was there something deeper? Had the Xanthe been guiding them all along, ensuring that every war, every conflict, every moment of humanity's darkest hours had served their ultimate purpose? The revelation left Alara in turmoil. She had always seen herself as a beacon of hope, a representative of humanity's potential to reach out to the stars. But now, she was forced to confront a far more uncomfortable truth. Humanity might not be as innocent as she had believed. Could she still trust her own species? Could she trust herself? With the weight of this knowledge pressing down on her, Alara realized there was only one way forward, an irreversible choice that would define the fate of not just humanity, but the entire galaxy. The Xanthe, she now knew, had been using humanity as a tool for centuries. They had infiltrated not just Earth, but the very minds of its people, planting their seeds in the hearts of the most influential figures, ensuring humanity's development followed a path that served their ultimate goal, total domination of the galaxy. The Soda were not the real threat. They were merely another victim in the Xanthe's larger game. And now, the Xanthe were targeting humanity again, this time with the intent to finish what they had started. Alara made a decision. She would expose her father's betrayal. She would go public with everything she had learned, no matter the consequences. But it wasn't enough to simply reveal the truth. She had to take action. She had to put an end to the Xanthe's control over humanity once and for all, and she knew the only way to do that was to infiltrate their mind control network directly. To truly break free of the Xanthe's influence, she would have to sacrifice herself. Alara's plan was nothing short of desperate. She would become the bait, allowing the Xanthe to take her and use her as they had used so many others. But in doing so, she would learn everything there was to know about their system, their network, and most importantly, their true vulnerabilities. She would destroy them from within. The sacrifice would be immense. It was likely that she wouldn't survive the process, but it was the only option. The alternative was to watch the Xanthe continue their rampage across the galaxy, manipulating and controlling until there was nothing left but empty, conquered worlds. Alara knew that this move would leave the fate of humanity in the hands of others. She had no illusions about the risks of her choice. If she failed, the Xanthe would have complete control over Earth and every other species in the galaxy. But if she succeeded, if she could destroy their mind control network, the Xanthe's grip on the galaxy would be broken. Humanity would be free. Her decision was final. She had no choice but to go through with it. With the fate of not just Earth, but the entire galaxy in her hands, Alara prepared to make the ultimate sacrifice. The stakes had been raised far beyond her own survival, and the weight of her decision felt heavier than ever. The world and the stars now depended on her willingness to give everything, even her life, to free them all. The time for hesitation was over. The Elysium drifted on the edge of space, its captain ready to face the unknown, with the knowledge that the fate of the galaxy would be shaped by one courageous act. The great shift had begun. Alara's plan had worked, but not in the way anyone had expected. When she infiltrated the Xanthes mind control network, she had hoped to expose the extent of their manipulation of humanity's leaders. She had hoped that her self-sacrifice would be the key to setting humanity free. But the truth was far more complicated, and the aftermath was far more chaotic than Alara could have imagined. The Xanthes' grip on the most powerful minds of humanity had been shattered. Governments fell, powerful corporations crumbled, and those who had secretly been puppets to the Xanthes' will were exposed. The truth was out. Humanity had not been in control of its destiny for centuries. The Xanthi, a parasitic intelligence that had been secretly influencing Earth's development for generations, had engineered wars, revolutions, technological advancements, and even moments of peace, all to keep humanity on a path that ultimately served their greater cosmic agenda. In one fell swoop, humanity learned how deeply it had been manipulated. The reaction, however, was far from the triumphant moment Alara had envisioned. Some saw this as the catalyst for a new beginning. They rallied inspired by the truth, united by the desire to break free from the Xanthes' control. These voices called for a new humanity, one that would stand tall in the face of the cosmos, unshackled by the puppet strings of an ancient intelligence. The Xanthi, now exposed for what they truly were, could no longer manipulate them from the shadows. Humanity would fight for its future, knowing the depths of its history and the power it could wield once freed from the Xanthes' hold. But not everyone was so ready to embrace this new reality. Others were shaken to the core, unable to come to terms with the idea that their very civilization had been shaped by forces beyond their control. The deep-seated belief that humanity was the master of its own fate had been irrevocably shattered. People asked hard questions. Had humanity ever been truly free? Had they ever really made their own choices? The idea that they had been pawns, manipulated by a hidden, parasitic force for centuries, was too much for some to bear. Trust in their own history, in their own decisions, was broken. The very foundation of what it meant to be human was fractured. Alara, herself, stood in the middle of this divide, feeling more lost than she ever had. She had exposed the truth, yes. But what had she set in motion? The truth had set humanity free, but it had also left them standing at a crossroads. Could they really move forward with the knowledge of their own manipulation? Or would this revelation lead to their ultimate downfall? And just as humanity's response began to unfold, a new twist emerged, one that would turn everything Alara had fought for upside down. It was the Aelin faction within the Sota, the peaceful, seemingly benevolent group that had supported Alara's effort. They had claimed to warn humanity about the Xanthi, and Alara had trusted them, believing they were truly concerned about Earth's survival. But in a shocking revelation, it was uncovered that the Aelin had been operating under their own deception. The Aelin had known about the Xanthi long before Alara had even heard their name. They had been aware of the parasitic species' influence on humanity and, far from warning Earth about the threat, had been manipulating Alara and her mission for their own ends. The Aelin's true intention was never to save humanity from the Xanthi. It was to use humanity as a tool in their own galactic conquest. The Aelin had seen humanity as a weapon, an untapped, raw force they could mold and use to expand their own power. They had allowed Alara to discover the Xanthi's influence on Earth because they knew it would create chaos, a perfect opportunity to offer humanity an alliance in exchange for their loyalty. Alara had been played, used as a pawn in a far larger game than she could have ever imagined. The discovery hit Alara like a punch to the gut. She had trusted the Aelin. They had seemed like her allies, her partners in this quest for peace. But now, she saw that they had only been waiting for the right moment to exploit humanity's vulnerability. The Xanthi were no longer the only threat now. Alara had to face the grim reality that the very faction she had thought of as good was just as manipulative as the Xanthi themselves. With this new betrayal, humanity was once again at a crossroads. The shattered remnants of trust between the human race and the Sota seemed impossible to rebuild. Alara had brought humanity's past into the light, and now she faced the difficult task of navigating the future. Should humanity unite under the banner of a fragile new alliance, one that included the Sota factions now fractured by their own internal conflicts, or should they risk independence, knowing that the Xanthi might still be out there, lurking in the shadows? Could humanity truly trust the Sota after everything that had been revealed? Was there a way to rebuild from the wreckage of so many betrayals, or would humanity once again fall prey to manipulation? The questions loomed large, unanswered, and heavy. Alara was torn. Her vision of a united, peaceful galaxy had crumbled, replaced by a world of fractured alliances and moral ambiguity. Humanity had learned the truth, but at what cost? The very act of exposing the Xanthi had revealed humanity's own dark secrets, and in the process, the idea of salvation had become as elusive as ever. In the final moments, as Alara stood on the bridge of the Elysium, staring out at the vast expanse of space, she found herself grappling with a deeper, more philosophical question. Is humanity's nature to be both the savior and the destroyer of its own future, or have we simply been pawns in a game much larger than ourselves? The universe seemed to offer no answer. Alara's eyes traced the distant stars, her mind racing with the possibilities. Was humanity truly capable of charting its own course, free from the manipulations of others? Or had they been nothing more than pieces on a cosmic chessboard, moved by forces they could never hope to understand? The final lines of the story lingered, open-ended, a haunting question hanging in the air. What does it mean to be free? And in the silence of the universe, that question remained unanswered, leaving the reader to ponder the true cost of knowledge and power and whether humanity could ever truly be free. The stars stretched on, indifferent to the struggles of those who looked up at them. The future remained uncertain, and Alara, standing alone in the cold vastness of space, knew that humanity's story was far from over.